Welcome back, friends. Today we are taking on the greatest boss in Bloodborne, arguably in all of Soulsborne, Ludwig the Holy Blade. I printed him out and he is comprised of several different parts. Ah, shit. The most important part of all being his iconic Holy Blade. I don't seem to have it at the moment, but oh, wait, oh, what's this? Ah, there we go.
My guiding moonlight.
It is, however, a little bent from printing, and that just won't do, but fortunately enough, I have the solution for this. A big, heavy object to flatten it out. So while that flattens out on the side, it's time to glue this legend together. Gorgeous. Now to prime him up with a black undercoat and a light grey highlight, and just enhance those highlights further with a quick airbrush of white ink. First job jobbed. Now let's start painting in this damn accursed flesh of his with some contrast paint in the airbrush. Over the top of this we'll get some beautiful desaturated skin tones going on as our main body tone. Then we'll quickly move on to adding some deeper brown shadows to bring that contrast in and just blend between the two to get those
sweet, smooth, silky transitions popping.
Ludwig trivia! It is rumoured that Ludwig was named after Ludwig van Beethoven over his fascination with the moon. Throughout the soundtrack, the Latin translations actually tell Ludwig's story. In the accursed beast phase, the serrated blade and fire paper do more damage to him as he is more beast than he is human. And with the incredible second half of the soundtrack, the Holy Blade phase, the best gaming soundtrack ever created, is actually a waltz, and his moveset changes to become more rhythmically in tune with the music as he regains more of his humanity with his sword. The whole soundtrack is written in the key of E-flat major, which for those musically in tuned of you, is the key often attributed to love, devotion and cruelty, three words that would perfectly encapsulate Ludwig. Both his love and devotion to both his blade and the church, and the cruelty of the bloodlust that took over him and that mutated him so horrifically. Back to painting. Where were we? Oh yeah, I'm just beefing up some shadows with some washes of black to just start thumping up that contrast a bit more. And for his tattered shawl and cape, I'll just base it with some grey over the top and just add some black back in to get that dynamism and contrast back in. Now I'll be using Black Legion contrast paint for the hair, as the liquidity of the contrast paint will make it way easier to reach those difficult to reach spaces in the hair. And there's our main base coat. Pretty horrifying. A big, beefy, fat wash of earth shade over the bodywork should help grime it up and get some deep settling dark tones into all of Ludwig's creases and folds. Then we can move on to highlighting all his features with some off-white colours. Detailing in these little chompers with some bone colour, because let's be honest, he ain't seeing no dentist anytime soon. Then gum it up with some Bugman's Glow. Now we've got to add some detailing to all of his hair, so with some mid-tone grey we'll add some streaks and strokes to each strand, before moving up to a much lighter grey to add smaller highlight streaks and strokes so we get some good variation in his hair. Now that the body is pretty much complete, it's time to undo all of our hard work with the most important feature of Ludwig.
Blood.
We gotta fulfill his insatiable bloodlust by absolutely dousing this beast with coagulated blood. The super useful thing with doing this is, you know, if you're not 100% happy with your paint jobs or transitions, then just cover it in blood and it will look pretty epic regardless, so win-win really. You can take that little cheat code going forward with you if you like. Now that he's drenched in blood, we can move on to the most important part of all. We'll take him from a beast to a human once again with his guiding moonlight.
You were at my side all along.
Let's take this iconic sword from a black stick of resin to a glowing halo of moonlight, starting by doing a light dry brush base coat of some metallic grey. Now I need a good reference image of how these glows manifest, and we can begin by mapping out the whites where the glows emanate from, mainly from the side of the sword it seems. Now to add the halo effect with some blast of white ink from the airbrush. For the main base colour, I'm using some of this emerald contrast colour, mixed 50-50 with some contrast medium to make it more of a glaze coating. Just whack on a mask to avoid any poison damage, and it's time to start getting this moonlight glow applied to our white halo. The contrast medium takes down the viscosity of the contrast so it's thinner yet doesn't lose its colour, so you have an easier time building up the colour and creating a more apparent gradient. Then back to stage 1, painting those white stripes back in a staggered block style to create a light bounce, and back over again with some more white halos. Now for our super bright highlight, we've got this crazy bright contrast paint here with a bit of contrast medium, and we'll gently go over these new white halos to start getting this glow really popping. Then it's time to polish it off with a final layer of white to get those main points of glow really accentuated, and finish it off with a slap of edge highlighting on the blade to give us that sharpness. Cut to me 90 minutes later after painting all the little decals in white and then going over it with some more Hex Wraith contrast glaze to tie it together. Then a final touch of white to the centres of different details, and we'll have a pretty cool looking sword. There he is with his guiding moonlight. We just now need to create the OSL on his body and we'll be good to move on. So just following suit with the sword, I've got white halo on parts where I find the reflection will be strongest, glazed over with the emerald, and then onto edge highlighting and detailing in little points of white to get those strongest reflections, which is then glazed over with a bit more Hex Wraith contrast. Now we can finalise him by farting on some super glue into his hands and sliding the moonlight sword down through his palms. And there we have him. Now just time for a base. I have here some foam core board from a local craft shop and a cut-out piece of MDF to the right size. Make sure to drop your heavy wood onto the foam to dent it and damage it for good measure. I'm going to cut out some stairs and low walls for the base, as my idea is to have him standing in the pool of blood at the bottom of the stairs that you fight him in. So just cutting the foam to shape to stack as stairs, and we can hot glue them all into place. Add in some low riding walls, and I can use some crumpled up kitchen foil to add some texture. Then with a mix of Mod Podge and black acrylic, I can seal and protect the foam with a nice black coat, before adding a main base coat of stone grey to everything and adding in some shadows all over with some more black. Mixtures of different umbers and ochres will add some nice stony variation to things before tying it all together and bringing the tones down with a big splash of black wash. Once dried, I can add in some lovely dry brushing of lighter greys to the edges and sticky out bits to get some poppin' highlights. Now time for the pool of blood. Mixing together some clear epoxy resin with some hardener and a tiny drop of blood contrast paint, we'll start to get this sticky consistency of gooey blood in a cup. Getting Ludwig glued down in place, we can start building up the pool around him. Totally forgot to add in a strip of tape to the edge so it doesn't leak everywhere, so better do that now. There we go. Now we can safely pour in our mixture. Leave it for a good while and come back for a satisfying tape peel. I'm just going to do a very satisfying untaping of it.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah, it's a cool little effect, isn't it?
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, it doesn't look like it's dry yet.
It is dry. I just need to trim it. That wasn't as satisfying as I had it in my head.
Yeah, it looks cool.
And you know, with only one tiny leak from the front end of the base, it has indeed cured to the mat. So with a trusty ruler in hand, I can pry it off, hopefully. Oh, I think that's it.
Good.
Literally just that tiny bit there.
Yeah.
What a faff. Now he's safely freed from his resin shackles, we can add some tiny ripples in for texture using this gloss Mod Podge and just brushing on some little waves. Then with an airbrush, just blow these little waves around to get a cool rippling effect. And you can just leave it once again to dry and come back for the final result. Here he is, the greatest boss in Bloodborne. You can see here how the Mod Podge has dried to give a nice, subtle, rippling texture. And there we go, gang. I hope you enjoyed this new installment of Bloodborne models. It's been a good couple of months since doing one. If you did enjoy it, please be sure to hit the like button. It really helps me out. Drop a comment below, tell me what you thought. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and join the gang. And as ever, thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time.
Tell me, good hunter of the church, have you seen the light? Does the nightmare never end? To know I did not suffer such denigration for nothing. Thank you kindly. Now I may sleep in peace. Even in this darkest of nights.